It is Tuesday, March the 10th. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, and we've got Kale back behind we just got a rotating cast of producers around here. Got to get me a schedule so I know who we're working with each and every day, Tyler.
I didn't know Kale was producing yesterday till about 3 minutes before the show, so maybe you and me both.
Well, good news for us. He is one of us because I saw him out there grabbing a little quick lunch. And did you know what chips he was eating?
Ooh, kettle cooked jalapeno.
That is right.
Those are so good.
The best.
He fits in. He is one of us. We will wobble, one of us.
I've been getting those for as long as I can remember.
There you go.
They're the best, man.
All right, lot to get to today. Some news. I'm not sure how to handle the news just yet because it's coming from reputable sources, but I think we would like to see a university statement. But now multiple outlets, the Gamecocks, I think it all started with David Cloninger is where this is now originating from. David Cloninger having now confirmed with the university that Lamont Paris will indeed be back for a fifth basketball season in 2026-2027. What I'm looking for, just kind of as confirmation, Tyler, and we'll see now that they have confirmed it to David Cloninger, is there a release from the university? Because to me, all right, I've worked with David for a very, very long time. I know that he's going to put out honest stuff. He's not just throwing stuff against the wall, hoping that it sticks. So I would say this is pretty much 100% locked now. Now the question to me really becomes, okay, Jeremiah Donati, explain yourself. And I want, this is me, and it doesn't have to be you, I want a full explanation. Is it as simple as financial? And if it is, just say it. Hey, we don't have the money. We don't have the money to do this. Do you believe in him? Are you sticking your neck out? I think I mentioned this to you. You two are younger than me. And so, to my knowledge, 1998. So, Tyler, that would put it right around when you were born.
I was two.
Kale, you were not born. Have either of y'all ever seen the movie Rounders? Are you familiar with the movie Rounders with Matt Damon and Ed Norton? It's actually got a great cast. I talked about this with JC a couple weeks ago.
I've not seen it.
Are you two even familiar with the movie?
I don't feel like I've heard of it. Obviously, I know the cast, but I've not seen it.
I don't think I've heard of it.
All right, it's a card movie. It's a great movie. I know for those of you that have listened to me now for 10 years here, you know that I'm not a movie buff, so my movie knowledge is limited. But Rounders was a college movie that I got really into because I might have at that time been going through a serious card phase. But nonetheless, in the movie, Matt Damon is the stand-up guy. He is the guy that everybody likes. He blows $30,000 in a card game with Teddy KGB, which is John Malkovich, and goes to taking a trucking route, but is a really good guy, a stand-up guy. Everybody likes him. Even the mob people like him. It's kind of part of where we're going with this. Ed Norton is not to compare Ed Norton to Lamont Paris. That's not what I'm trying to do here. Mm-hmm. But Ed Norton comes out, he gets out of jail. He's a bit of a crook and a cheat and deals off the bottom of the deck and tends to put things in his advantage. Well, Ed Norton in the movie owes, without giving, the movie's 20 years old, okay? If you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. No spoilers at this point. I think it's almost 30 years old. Ed Norton owes a whole bunch of money to one of the gangsters in the movie. Well, I say all this because halfway through the movie, Matt Damon puts his neck out on the line for his buddy for the money. And even though everybody likes Matt Damon in the movie, he's now responsible for coming up with $15,000 in like 5 days.
Okay.
In this movie. And I'm going to circle that back the best I can, having a movie analogy that I can for once use. Jeremiah Donati, your neck is now on the line for Lamont Paris.
Yeah.
Nobody dislikes Lamont Paris. This isn't an Ed Norton equals Lamont Paris situation. But Tyler and Kale, to me, whatever comes of this next year, I don't even really look at Lamont Paris anymore and blame him. I look directly at Jeremiah Donati and go, this is on your hands. Whatever happens, good or bad, good, we'll praise you. Bad, you now might need to be on the chopping block just as much.
Because we're looking at this as a situation as Lamont Paris is no longer just a coach that you inherited, that you did not hire. And that was kind of the narrative going into this season was, hey, You know, Jeremiah Donati did not hire Lamont Paris. That was Ray Tanner. There's no previous relationship there. So how is he going to view this? You have the opportunity to make the move based on the results of the past 2 years. You've chosen to extend him. So you're right. Now it's not just, hey, this is a coach that you inherited. Now you're deciding at a pivotal moment to give him another chance. So whatever happens next year, like you said, does come back to Jeremiah Donati because he is giving seemingly the vote of confidence. We don't have an official statement yet. I'm sure we'll get one, that he believes Lamont Paris can get it done with additional resources. So yes, this does come back. This is now, it's not a hire, but it is a Donati move to bring him back. So again, he is now roped into this too.
Yeah, that to me is what comes to the day. I don't know. Listen, for all I know, Lamont Paris, they're going to give him money. They're going to give him more money. I truthfully, just based on conversations, don't know where that money's going to come from. I have no idea. I'm not trying to be funny and or mean. It's not my problem. But to enhance this basketball team, whether it was Lamont Paris or whomever, you've got to spend money on the basketball team. And that involves giving extra NIL money, which doesn't necessarily come out of university coffers. You got to have people who are willing to donate that money. You get the point what I mean by donate. You've got to have people willing to come up with that money. And I think that's going to be a tough job. I don't know where this is going at this point. I will admit, I'm pulling for Lamont Paris. I'm pulling for it to work. I'm pulling for this to be something that somebody can rub in my face and say, Gunner, boy, were you wrong. I don't know how it's going to work.
Going back to the point about Donati, because I'm refreshing my memory here, when we learned Beamer was definitely coming back, the state newspaper had it first, but it wasn't like a statement. It wasn't like a long-form thing explaining the move. He just confirmed to the state that Shane Beamer's coming back. So do we get like an explanation of this, or is it just like, oh, yeah, Donati confirmed Lamont Paris is going to return? Like, I think we're looking for an explanation of, okay, how are you going to make this better? I don't know if we're going to get that or not.
He needs to. I don't know if he will or not. He needs to. This is so. I don't think I'm in the minority on this, but I know that there are some that felt that Shane Beamer should have been fired. I don't feel that way. I feel like Shane Beamer, regardless, should have gotten this year to try and clean this thing up from 4-8. I think it was a little. I think it was a little too quick to pull the trigger on Beamer this past year. I'm not trying to deny it was an awful, awful year, but I don't think that was deserving 1 year of firing him based on what I thought is 3 solid years and now 2 garbage can years.
And you were only 1 year removed from the best season he had, and one of the best in recent memory. So that accounts for something, and that's kind of, again, where we got to this gray area with Lamont Paris. Like, yeah, you made the tournament, but now that's 2 seasons ago. You've massively underperformed in the following 2 seasons. Okay, you could cut him loose at this point, and people wouldn't be surprised by it. But again, they've made the decision to extend him, and again, it's going to take more resources and more things to help him be successful. And we assume they're going to do their best to give him that. We'll see.
Well, to me, it's with Shane Beamer. You could make the Kendall Briles hire. You could make the Stan Drayton hire. You had Lenore Sellers coming back. Dylan Stewart was coming back. I don't know if a statement was as much needed from the AD when you looked around and you saw the things that were happening within the football program. I don't know what's going to happen with the basketball program. What happens, the worst case scenario, what happens if Eli Ellis decides to depart? I think now I kind of turn my attention to him starting on Thursday and Friday and go, okay, because you are seeing players. The portal doesn't officially open until, was it April 7th? Is the Tuesday?
It's the day after the national championship.
I think that's the 7th, if I'm thinking correctly. But yeah, it's the Tuesday after the national championship game. But with that being said, what does he do? What do the prospects of next season look like? This is my initial thought. My initial thought on this. In the time it took, I don't know when this was precisely put out this afternoon. I believe it was within the last hour, enough where I was getting in my car to drive here, so I haven't had time to fully I've had time to think about it, but not research it. You're very, very likely putting together a brand new roster. Marcus Johnson's coming in. Eli Strong could be back. Again, Ellis, Polk, Simeon, E.J. Walker is back. Jordan Butler, Cam Scott is back. You get the point. But my initial thought on this is to get them prepared. You have to play a non-conference that is very similar to what you played this year.
Right.
Well, that doesn't excite anybody.
No.
That's not going to draw anybody's attention. So there goes November and December. You'll get the ACC game. Maybe we'll look up and you get Georgia Tech or Wake Forest, who I've been begging for. You'll get a game here against Clemson. And then other than that, I don't know what else you may have lined up. You've got the tournament that's going to be out west in Sacramento or somewhere out there that they're going to go to. But other than that,
but it's very similar, like the Greenbrier thing this year, where you'll get a little bit of power mixed in there, but mainly you're probably playing teams on the lower end of.
You're hoping to think it's Stanford and Southern Cal, which would be the big name teams.
Sure. Again, something to kind of give you a gauge. But you're right. Through the months of November and December, there's really not going to be a whole lot that generates a ton of excitement, and unless you're just going out there and signing absolute superstars in the transfer portal, it's probably going to be a tough draw early in the season to get people hyped up and jazzed. It's really going to be up until January. You got to start winning SEC games to get people to believe that next year is going to be different.
I don't know how they're going to do it, and so to my thing is, yes, unlike football, Jeremiah Donati has got to have an answer. Quite frankly, and he doesn't. Do I think it'll happen? No. It's two different things. Let's be clear about that. Do I think it'll happen? You can speak for yourself, Tyler, and say what you think will happen. No, I don't think he'll do this. I do think there needs to be a press conference with him and Lamont Paris sitting down to discuss this basketball program and what is going to be done to fix it so that we can follow the step by step. But you ain't got to tell us what players you're going to. We're not targeting this player A, player B, player C, but I think there's got to be some accountability held here. When you talk about 3 of the worst 4 basketball seasons South Carolina's had in its history, mixed in there with one more. But we'll talk more about that. The financial aspect of it, certainly another part to it. And if it is financial, I think that needs to be mentioned. Why does it need to be mentioned? It needs to kind of be a wake-up call or a call to arms to the university, to the fans, to be like, hey, we got to raise more money.
And I think as much as you may not like it, I think everybody understands that dynamic of being successful now. There's a reason why, the Kansases, the Kentuckys, though this year's not going the way they wanted to, are able to go out there and spend or get a high-level talent because they can spend the money for it. They have the money for it, $20 million. And you're not going to be in that range. Carolina's likely never going to spend that much on men's basketball, at least not in this current era of college sports, but you definitely need to be better than where you have been. Again, I go back to the Field of 68 and their anonymous survey of coaches within the conference that all agreed that Carolina was the worst or next worst job, and a lot of that had to do with resources. So you got to buck that narrative about this program, and it's going to take spending money to do that.
803-404-6100. We'll get to the phone lines, and I'll get to these text lines, what we've got going here on that. A lot of other stuff to get to today. Again, we'll get back into some men's basketball, some March Madness. Bob Ritchie, how about that? Good friend Bob Ritchie going to make an appearance dancing. He's got his dancing shoes out for the second time. We'll do that. Baseball tonight. There is an intriguing aspect to baseball tonight that's worth tuning in as the Gamecocks travel to Citadel. We'll explain that to you a little bit. J.C. Sherwood also set to join us later on today. And NFL free agency went wild yesterday.
A lot of big moves out there, and my team, well, they're doing something.
You've got a backup. What do you have?
There are quarterbacks on the roster. That is all I can say at this point.
I feel like it's gone. There's a mix of emotions here. Tyler feels some ways that they did something. I myself am very happy.
They did something. If it's good or not is to be determined.
I'll let Tyler and Kel break that all down as we roll along. Bill Gunner, Kel, Tyler Head, you're listening to the Halftime Show. 803-404-6100. A lot of y'all weighing in on this news. Now, again, I trust David Cloninger. There's no reason not to think that this is not true information that David Cloninger has reported here on the old Twitter machine as it pertains to South Carolina basketball. For those of you just turning in, DCPNC, David Cloninger, Post-Courier, has now put out that he has checked with the University Athletic Department, and they have confirmed to him that Lamont Paris will return for 26-27. I guess we await a press release. No offense. I'm not trying to offend anybody down there. I'm just giving my opinion, and I'm sorry if this upsets people. If you don't have a press release, it comes across cowardly.
I think you'll get a press release of some sort. Now, a full-on press conference, I'll go for the doubtful on that one, even though I know that's what you want. But you'll get some kind of formal statement from the desk of Jeremiah Donati, I would imagine, vote of confidence, whatever you want to call it. I mean, do you do that today? Do you wait until after they're done in Nashville? I don't know. But I imagine we'll get something in written form from him at some point.
Should. We'll see and go from there. So we're kind of discussing that. We'll get into a little bit more here as we go through the hour. But several of y'all weighing in. KT says, I can see a scenario where the AD might want to retain Paris, so he's thinking either a new baseball or football coach for 2027. Okay. Well, that ain't good either.
I don't think you can operate that way, though.
I don't think you can operate that way. And I'm trying to tell y'all, I don't think a new football coach is on the table.
Because then, okay, let's say baseball has a successful enough season. You retain Maneri for another year. Football, they go 8-4, 9-3, and you're retaining Shane Beamer. Then you were saying, oh, well, we kind of thought the other teams were going to suck, so now we're stuck with bad basketball again. I don't think you can operate that way as an AD.
I also and this is just me, I just don't see Paul Maneri being fired. I don't see him being fired. I just don't think he wants that stain on his resume. I can see him stepping away.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I tried this. The game's changed a lot. I think I'm just going to go back to being retired. Here, Monty Lee can be the coach or whatever.
I can see a negotiated, all right, we're not going to give you everything.
A mutual parting of ways.
I just don't. Guys like that with success like he's had and a legacy like he's had, I just don't foresee a situation where you're firing him at the end of the season. I see a scenario where, hey, you got two options. We're going to fire you, or you can take a reduced buyout and you can step away on your own terms, and we can make it look good for you there. But that's my opinion. Eric says, if I could ask Coach Paris one question, if you had more NIL money, are there specific outstanding players that would have come that we didn't get? That's going to be it's going to be a multi-million-dollar question this year. What can you do in the transfer portal that is attractive to get guys?
And I think, to that question, and not that Lamont Paris will go out there and give you a list of names or anything like that, but it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you know what your budget is, you're not even looking at the high-dollar items because you got $10 to spend, so you're looking within the realm of what's within your budget. So, yeah, theoretically, you go out there and name a whole list of guys that Carolina probably wasn't even going to be able to entertain because that would have probably exceeded their entire NIL budget in a lot of ways if they look there. So I don't even know how much Paris entertained those thoughts because he knew those guys were too far out of their price range.
Another texter weighs in, Michael, and this is a valid question, but I kind of find it somewhat hard to believe, but I do understand. He says, South Carolina won't say the main reason to keep Lamont Paris, and that reason is that no one better that would take the job. The AD cannot publicly say no one with a decent resume would want the job. And I don't rule that out either, that if you went to a couple of the candidates that you preferred and they said, well, we need $4 million, and you go, well, that's not in our budget right now. Do I think you could have gone out and gotten a Scott Cross or a Casey Alexander or some of these younger, lesser coaches? Yes. My thing that I don't know, that we will never probably know, is what was exactly the number that they wanted. Yep. They can drive your number up more than they can a few other schools.
Well, look, every AD is going to have a list of names at the ready at any time. I go back to when Nick Saban retired. Greg Byrne had a list of candidates already in his desk, and they went out and obviously hired Kalen DeBoer. So you got to be ready at all times for coaches leaving or obviously coaches getting fired and stuff like that. And if you're having this debate of, okay, should we keep this guy or let him go, then you're probably going to start floating some things around, getting an idea of, okay, if we did make this move, who would be willing to come here, what's their asking price, and all that kind of stuff. So that's a fair point. You could be looking at a list of names of, hey, here's our top 5 candidates, but they're all wanting X amount of dollars that we can't afford. Yep. So maybe you don't have a better option as of right now. Again, we don't know, and Nermine and I wouldn't admit that. While Lamont Paris is still the coach here, certainly, but that's not outside the realm of possibility when you consider things. And again, the resources have a lot to do with that. I go back to the Field of 68 article where coaches within the SEC basically said we view South Carolina as the worst job in the conference because they're not up to the standard of these other teams when it comes to what they can spend and what they have available. So, yeah, if you're looking at an SEC where potentially Oklahoma and LSU are going to come available, and LSU is a little bit more comparable, but Carolina might be third on that list in terms of, who would come here in addition to Georgia Tech and Boston College and Kansas State and Arizona State and all these other schools that you're going to be competing with for candidates. I don't know how high on that list Carolina would be.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this afternoon. Let's go to the phone lines. Ray wants to weigh in here before we close up this segment. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, doing all right. Doing good. Bill, doing good. Tyler. Knowing what I know, and some people I know and our board, it's the money, man. And I'll tell you this, guys. Other schools will think nothing about spending $12 million to pay a coach off. We're not that other school. And I'm telling you, I called in a little over a month ago, and I didn't finish my call. When Coach Paris, we all love Coach Paris, love the Rounders comparison. I thought that was great. Bill. But when Coach Paris had that real good year a couple years ago, and Coach Tanner gave him an extension. Okay, I understood the extension. But at that point, Coach Paris, he had 2 years left. I would have given a 2-year extension, and he has 4 years. So you took a coach that had 1 good year, and you basically guaranteed him 6 years of a salary. I thought that I didn't quite agree with that because I knew there was a promissory note we couldn't cash. If it came, we had 2 bad years, and we had 2 terrible years. So it is absolutely about finances, and I wish, Donati would come out and say that. His hands might have been tied on this because he has to answer to that board. But to me, it's sad. It's sad that we're in this position, and I don't know what's going to happen. But what I do believe is going to happen, guys, and I go back to the money thing. I tell you, Bill, this weekend I was riding around the stadium. I said, oh, my God, this has got to be hundreds of millions of dollars. When they get through with that, I wouldn't be surprised if it's approaching $1 billion. I mean, unbelievable work going around that stadium. So I really think, guys, it's about the money. And I think next year this time we'll be talking about replacing a new basketball coach. Well, just think, and we were talking about it now, there would be some excitement infused in the program. Instead, it's just a nice guy who's getting another year at a high salary, and the program's really not going to advance. That's just my take, but thanks for letting me talk, guys.
Appreciate the phone call. I think then the big question is let's focus out of basketball because the buyout here is not ridiculous. It's not really truly ridiculous. $3 million. It's $12 million that you can spread over 4 years, $3 million a year. The part that makes it a little more crazy again is you're going to have to pay a new coach, and I think you're going to have to pay a lot more than what it was. So that tax on, I think the assistant coach salary is going to need to be more. The staff and resources is going to need to be more, and then however you come up with NIL needs to be more. So it's not just as simple as saying, well, it's $3 million extra that we're adding on. You're probably adding, and I'll be honest, in talking with people, upwards in the ballpark of $10 million. You and I got into that number, and I was saying just to start, you're probably going to $10 million.
Sure.
But my question to you, and we'll hit the break, does this concern you about the overall health of the South Carolina Athletic Department? The big picture on this. You couldn't pull off that. If we can't pull this off because of the financial issue, why are y'all all of a sudden thinking we can just shell out $26 million to buy out Shane Beamer if that's what you did want to do in December?
Fair question.
It's a totally different. Why are you thinking, even though it's a much, much, much smaller buyout, that if it came to it and Paul Mainieri didn't retire and you had to fire, financially, it all of a sudden looks like this program's operating on pennies. We'll talk about that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And the main reason for that is their customer service, the fact that they are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You give them a phone call, and you'll speak with an on-call technician, if that's after hours, or a Mid-State Roofing employee during hours. So you can give them a phone call now and be able to speak with them. If you've got a leak, you just got to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. From high rises to hospitals, whatever you may have, industrial, manufacturing, Mid-State Roofing is there to take care of you. And not only here in the Midlands, but throughout the great state of South Carolina. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Again, the news of today is that at least at the moment, David Cloninger is reporting that the USC Athletic Department has confirmed to him that Lamont Paris, South Carolina men's head basketball coach for the previous 4 seasons, will return for a 5th season in 2026, 2027. And let me ask both of you this. Y'all are younger than me. There was a time and a place. Darren Horn was the one that I first took notice of it, that we went 4 years on Darren Horn. And I remember thinking back then and covering the Darren Horn situation, and I looked back on it then and was like, I don't know if you can get rid of Darren Horn. And this was 2011, I think. And was like, I don't know if you can get rid of a coach in 4 years.
Right.
Well, things have changed dramatically now.
Right.
What is you two's, Tyler, I'll start with you, and then Kale, I'll get your opinion. What is you two's opinion of a coach? I mean, it's changed so much now with NIL money and transfer portal and bigger paychecks and so forth. When we get rid of a coach, when anybody gets rid of a coach in 4 years, because it used to be 5 was about the norm. You got 5, and now it feels like 4 is more of the year.
I really say for a lot of places it's kind of that 3 to 4 year range where, again, you kind of go back to the reference of about 5 years in the past, because that allowed you to completely filter out everything the previous coach had, get in multiple signing classes, all that kind of stuff, establish your identity, your philosophies, whatever it may be. So by year 5, you truly had what that program was under that coach at that point in time. And if you didn't like what you had, then you move on from him and restart back at square one. But I think now with how many transactions you can have with portal and NIL and all that kind of stuff, you can figure that out a whole lot quicker. So I really kind of look at a lot of coaches in that 3 to 4 year range to really figure out what they are. Now, again, for Lamont Paris, in 3 out of his first 4 years, it's not great. Now, again, maybe you give year number 1 a pass because it was year number 1 and he's taken a step up and did have some talented players on that roster, but still that was a year of learning and all that kind of stuff. But even then, the last 2 years after making the tournament haven't been anywhere near competitive enough. But again, they're going to bring him back for year number 5. But going back to the point of what we were talking about earlier, I understand people's frustration with this. If you don't like it, you think they should have fired him and moved on and got somebody else, because the sample size you've seen over 4 years largely has not been good enough.
Kale, you're younger than both of us. What is your take on now a coach's longevity when things are kind of struggling, where it used to be, in my opinion, 5 years? Now it appears most coaches, if they can get 4, they're just starting to do really well.
Yeah, if you're able to do 4, I feel like that's kind of I mean, I feel like really if you're struggling, are you talking about if you're struggling from just year 1?
Yeah, yeah. Most coaches, you know, I see people talk about, I'd have to go back and pull, Frank Beamer is the big example, right? I think he went first 5 years where he struggled. Mike Krzyzewski's first 4 years at Duke were not particularly something to write home about. There's been other coaches out there, a lot of y'all can point to them, that their first 4 years were not anything to be all excited about, and then things started to take off, but they were given plenty of years. That has changed. That is no longer even close to the case anymore.
No, it's not.
So,
and I'll use an example. We'll go to the football realm here for somebody that's on the staff here at South Carolina. Jeff Collins' first year at Georgia Tech was in 2019. In his first 3 seasons, he went 3-9, 3-7, and 3-9, and got fired 4 games into 2022. You had seen enough of him at that point to understand what he was as a head coach, to know that things suddenly weren't going to change. So essentially he got 3 years and 3 and a third of a season. But nobody at Georgia Tech was like, hey, give him more time. Wait a minute, maybe you can figure this out. You knew what you had at that point in time.
yeah, I feel like 4 years, if you're really just struggling from the beginning, 4 years is I feel like a good number, because in year 3, at that point, you've got really a couple classes of your own guys that you recruited yourself. And then year 4, it's your second year with mostly your guys. And so I feel like at that point, you've had plenty of time. And if there's no improvement or no results that are satisfying the fan base, I feel like that's really a good time to cut ties.
Things have changed, and it's fine. Nothing's wrong with moving it to 4 years. I'm not trying to say, oh, everybody should get 5 years. I was kind of going back and looking at Krzyzewski's first 3 years stunk at Duke, relatively stunk, 17-13, 10-17, 11-17. But you get to that 4th year, they got to the NCAA round of 32, which might have been the opening round then. I don't remember precisely when they went to 64, but he was 24-10, and then it was really in the next several years that things took off. So I'm not trying to compare. I'm just going back to his first 3 years. But I do feel like year 3 is now where people start to really go, are you accomplishing anything with your program?
Well, we also have to remember what were those years of his first 3 at Duke?
What do you mean?
The time frame of years.
80, 81,
Okay.
81, 82, 82, 83. So things are totally different.
Yeah, coaches were making pennies
Right.
compared to now. I think we looked this up because, we talked about Frank Beamer in his first handful of years at Virginia Tech, and I can't remember if it was on this show or on with Wes and Chris, but we looked up, he was making like $80,000 a year to start things out at Virginia Tech. So all things considered, they weren't pulling in near as much money as they are now. So the pressure of expectation wasn't nearly the same. And now coaches in their first year are getting millions of dollars, even if you're taking a step up a level like Lamont Paris did coming here to South Carolina. So with getting paid more money, like any job, when you get a raise or get paid more money, your expectations of standards of success are going to go up. So now that everybody's making millions and millions of dollars, no matter what, level your experience is at these Power 4 schools, the expectation raises, and that shortens your window to turn things around and have success.
Texter weighs in, are they planning on giving Paris more money to offer prospective players? I believe we were at or near the bottom of the SEC for money budgeted towards that, so maybe they're planning on changing that, seeing what Paris can do with more money to offer. That's the rumor, right, Tyler? That's at least what we're kind of hearing, is if they were going to run this back, part of it would have to do with the simple fact that, hey, we're going to give him more money to allow him to have a wider pool of transfer portal players to try and pull in that should be bigger and better, right?
Yeah, theoretically speaking, yes. Again, this now goes back to Jeremiah Donati because this is his decision to bring him back. So, again, he's no longer just a guy that he inherited. This is your decision to give him a 5th year, and we'll see what happens.
Let's go to the phone lines, 803-404-6100. Hank wants to weigh in. Hank, how you doing this afternoon? What's on your mind?
I'm doing fine. I guess I would say, to be completely fair, y'all mentioned about what the coaches think, but the other coaches, even anonymously, but they're in the league, think about this job. And so from an athletic director standpoint, for Donati, first thing is he's got that huge thing going on with football he's got to pay for, that the stadium renovations. You already have people upset who are going to be squeezed out of their season tickets they've had for 100 years because of what needs to be done to make them competitive. And so that he's got to weigh it more so than just this individual year. I hear people talk about Paris, but I remember back during the Frank Martin days, everybody called his first year 0. I mean, everyone, and for Paris, you gotta kind of do the same, because different than back in the past when you talk about Krzyzewski and those guys, is Frank, the year he left, had some solid players. The guy that went on to Providence and some other places, he had some solid players that in years past they all wouldn't have been able to just take off out of there. But now when a coach leaves, the whole team gets depleted. I mean, everybody has a free reign to just go wherever. So you don't even get a chance sometimes to sit down and even convince players to stay. And if he hadn't had the good year, if Paris hadn't had the good year, I think this could be more egregious. But you saw if he had talent, what he could get done. So if you fire him now, I think you have to do what Bill was saying as far as up and all that $10 million, all that other stuff that's going to come from a financial standpoint on the other side. But also, if you fire him, if you bring in a guy that's coming from the same level as him, mid-major level, maybe got a good tournament run or whatever, you bring him in, and then all of a sudden you up the NIL to $10 million, then there's going to be some people question why not have just add 5 or 6 more million and let Paris see what he could do this last year and just save some money. So,
appreciate the phone call, Hank. Yeah, we got to hit a break. We'll come back, hit on that and that football renovation thing when we return. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Final segment of hour number one. We'll get into some baseball coming up in the next hour, some NFL free agency. We'll move away from this a little bit. A lot of stuff, even a retirement you might want to know about that if you haven't heard about. Garnet Thor is stepping away from football. If you're unfamiliar with who Garnet Thor is, well, one, come on, pay better attention. Two, we'll inform you of that. 803-404-6100. Back to the phone lines we go. Justin wants to weigh in this afternoon. Justin, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Doing good, guys. How about y'all?
Doing good.
It is what it is. Maybe the AD doesn't have the money right now, and maybe so scared to compete with these other schools right now. It's not like back in the day, coaches get 4 years, and today's they get 5. It's kind of sad right now, and you gotta suck it up. You know, there's not much you can do. It's whether you support the guy or not, and we'll see what happens. But man, they got to do something different with the basketball player, whether the AD makes an announcement or not, unless something weird changes in the tournament. But peace out, guys. Go Gamecocks.
Appreciate the phone call. Several of y'all weighing in. Texter says, no guarantee the replacement will do better. Take the dollars and spend on some players. Baseball, wrong coach. Beamer's the right coach. Look at the moves this season. All good. Coaches, class, and portal, and kept 3 aces on the team. Beamer can recruit. Players need to play. Another texter weighs in and said, this almost feels like acknowledgement that our basketball program is horrendous, and Donati can point to Paris getting ample time to illustrate future candidates that they won't have a short leash if they take the job. Yeah.
Okay. I see where you're going with that.
And 803-404-6100. Another texter says, I think it's more about the NIL money or lack thereof than coaches' salaries payout. Sadly, that is the climate of today's sports. You can hypothetically bring in another coach unless money is there to compete with your peers. The result will be the same. To even have a chance to compete with others, especially in the SEC, unfortunately, necessary funds come into play, and South Carolina has always had a higher mountain to climb than most. I believe it eventually can be done, as witnessed by the occasional successes. However, it will take the full complement of everything coming together, whether with the basketball team or all USC sports.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
The other thing to all of this, Tyler, that we don't know, and yes, to some extent it plays, is what exactly is I know what the total financial obligation is of the stadium renovations.
Mm-hmm.
But how is that being how is that being paid out on a yearly basis, and how does that impact what your current budget is? Now, let me say this definitively. In my opinion, Tyler, you can weigh in if you want. Kale, you can weigh in if you want. I have no problem with the decision to renovate Williams-Brice Stadium. There's a lot of people out there who are going, why are we doing this? That I don't understand this, that this doesn't make any sense. It does. That stadium needs to be, there needs to be small things done to it. You can use it for more than just football. It will be a revenue generator. It has to be done. And you can't keep kicking the can down the road on that. That stadium, contrary to what y'all continuously want to believe, the fans are fine. The fans are great. South Carolina's facilities are not great. The CLA is not a great facility. The basketball practice facility is not it's unique. It's not great. Founders Park is falling behind quickly. Williams-Brice Stadium is great when you put 75,000 fans in, but it's becoming that battle versus television these days, and television can win out of Williams-Brice Stadium a lot.
Well, like the Willie B thing, one of the biggest things about the renovation was the suites, right? And
right.
What was the number? Like, you were dead last in the SEC in that category. Like, you've been behind on this for a while. So you're right, this did need to be done. It wasn't a matter of, either renovate the stadium or have more money to hire and fire coaches or whatever. Like, no, the stadium renovation had to be done to be able to put yourself up to standards with the other teams in the SEC. And like you said, generate revenue that can help you out down the road. Like, there was no question this was going to get done regardless of how the teams were performing.
My biggest thing was that there was only one video board, one scoreboard. I mean, being a alumni and a former student at USC, when I sat in the student section, I had to break my neck every game looking up because there wasn't one across the other side of the field. You had to look up, and you couldn't even get a good view of it. So that's my opinion.
Okay, and don't pick on Carol for that. A second video board. Yeah, there's things that need to be done in that stadium to update that stadium to bring it up to modern era that makes it a good football viewing experience and that continues to draw people in, and that you can have these soccer matches or whatever it may be that that allows the university to generate more money so that they're not in this position. So we'll see. We'll see. 803-404-6100. We're going to move on to baseball in the next segment and get into the NFL in the next hour and a few other things. A couple other things, just my opinion, very quickly. You know, for all this Lamont Paris, well, when he gets good players, it's proven he can coach. Let me tell you something. That pretty much goes for everybody. Give me good players. I'll get a team to the NCAA tournament. I'm by no means an NCAA basketball coach. Although, again, I'll brag, I did interview for the position one time with Wofford. But the bottom line is there's a lot more to it than just you got to have good players. A lot to get to. Hour 2 on the way. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing. Let me tell you something right now. You, I get it, are not thinking about your roof. You're probably thinking about spring vacation or even better, summer vacation. You're thinking about great days on the lake, or maybe even being out on the golf course. Most certainly, you're not thinking about your roof. But I can tell you who is. Mid-State Roofing. That's why they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for over 30 years. And it's that proven history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. So give them a phone call today. Go ahead and line up a maintenance contract while I'm talking to you about it and while you're thinking about it. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. Call Midstate Roofing today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you. It is 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. As we roll along, I will be out tomorrow. Another quick doctor's appointment, little trip up to Greenville to deal with that. So
I mentioned yesterday, I said if Bill or I are out, just assume we're at the doctor because that's kind of how it goes.
yeah, yesterday was Charleston. Tomorrow is Greenville. So I'm touring, not the kind of state tour, I'll be dead honest, I want to be on.
Nothing in Myrtle Beach?
Nothing. No, they don't have a kidney facility there.
That'd probably be a fun one to be at.
Charleston's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Charleston. listen, not that it matters to y'all, not that y'all care. I had a blast in Charleston this weekend. Kudos.
Hey, Charleston's fun.
The Charleston Gamecock Club, shout out to them. They put on a phenomenal oyster roast on Saturday at Home Team Barbecue down there in Charleston. Beautiful weather. I'm not being mean. I'm not trying to be mean. But I'll say this. You can tell, and I've been around Tyler. I'm 43. And so, and you've seen Georgia days like this where things didn't go right. Fans are a little down. It's the end of the season. Maybe it's basketball, maybe it's football, maybe it's baseball. And people are happy when there's a victory, but it's a subdued celebration, right?
Sure.
Like,
the overall vibe of the program is not great. So even a win is like, I feel that.
I'll say this. That Charleston Gamecock Club is a legitimately passionate. They circled that TV on Michi's 3.
Really?
And you'd have thought we just want to share of the SEC. Kudos to them. I should have I been more excited? Maybe. I was enjoying the afternoon. They had fantastic oysters. They had some chili and stuff. And it was just a great little gathering of people.
Sure.
But the excitement when Michi hit the 3. And look, I think one thing about this year's team is that everybody can pull from Michi Johnson.
Sure, totally.
Like, legitimately pull from Michi Johnson. And for him to hit the 3, that was awesome. But them high-fiving and jumping around, I was like, these guys are passionate. They support their Gamecocks. They support their program. And Jen and her husband, Kevin, they put on a great event, and it was a lot of fun. And then ended up at the Eric Church concert. Now, I don't think you two are probably Eric Church fans.
I'm not like a super huge fan. I like some of his songs.
Great concert. Got to hang out with Jamie Bradford. We had a good time. Saw Michael Flint down there. We got to hang out with Jamie Bradford, and we had a really good time down there for that. So it's a great weekend. Culminated in a doctor's appointment, which wasn't great. But so yeah, I'm out again tomorrow, and then we'll be back together on Thursday to see where we're at. South Carolina, Oklahoma on Wednesday night. We get the really late game. We go from potentially having the 12:30 game to the 9:30 game to the you got to take a nap during the middle of the day to watch the game.
And listen, we'll be lucky if it actually tips at 9:30.
That's a good point.
It's probably gonna be a little bit later than that. So yeah, coffee, energy drinks, whatever you need to keep yourself awake for that one, because it's gonna be a late night, and that could be the end of the season. Though they did beat Oklahoma earlier on this year, so they could be playing to Thursday for all we know. And again, now we go into this knowing that the storyline of, hey, does Montpierce need to do X, Y, or Z to extend himself? Like, that's gone, right? You're kind of playing free a little bit now, because
I wonder
there's not as much pressure of like, oh man, and for the players too, like if we lose, coach gets fired or whatever. Like, now and for those guys, maybe go out and enjoy your final game at South Carolina or whatever it may be. So yeah, I'm interested to see how they look, knowing that storyline is gone now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So 9:30 on Wednesday night, and then Tyler and I'll be back to discuss it all on Thursday morning and kind of see where they stand. And you're right. You're 100% right. I don't put it past. Oklahoma's been playing better of late, but I don't put it past South Carolina to knock off the Sooners on Saturday night. Look, they're due again. I don't think they're a good shooting team, Tyler, but I also don't think they're as bad as they have been all season long, even though the numbers suggest, yes, they are. They're indeed that bad. I don't put it past them once again, like all of a sudden getting hot, like Nashville, the rims just being great for I don't put it past it not working and things like really not working. But with that being said, I don't put it past them going up there and be like, we like these rims. And they go out and they have some kind of incredible shooting night and then get Missouri not Missouri.
A&M.
They would get A&M.
And that win against Oklahoma earlier on this year was a prime example of this team having a really good night from beyond three. They were 9 of 20 from three that night, 45%. Like, again, it was few and far between, but there were those games peppered in where they did look like the team they were advertised to be, and they went out there and won. And, talking about the pressure here, Porter Moser doesn't know if he's coming back or not. Oklahoma's got to win a couple games to make the NCAA tournament. All the pressure is squarely on them now. So I think you kind of view this from a Carolina standpoint of, like, are you kind of playing with house money a little bit? Like, you can go in there a little bit more relaxed, playing free, and, you could potentially ruin another team's season on the other side.
Paul Maneri will take his baseball team back to the Diamond tonight. Tonight, I think, y'all tell me, Tyler and I kind of discussed this. I think there's a little more intrigue to going down to Charleston and taking on the Citadel tonight than typical. And the reason being is Alex Philpott, who at one time was believed to be a weekend starter for this team, will get the start tonight. Now, what do you think? Maybe 50 pitches most? I haven't seen.
Maneri said on Friday 20 to 25.
Okay, 20 to 25.
Even fewer. So at best, you're looking at maybe 2 innings there. It's really kind of a getting your feet wet type of thing. So he's an opener more than a starter tonight for a bullpen game. But again, it's just kind of knocking the rust off, and maybe you set him up to get some relief pitches this upcoming weekend. But yeah, like you said, he's somebody that was talked about because transferring over from Florida in the offseason. He's somebody that has the potential to be in that mix for the weekend rotation that took a hit when Jake McCoy went down. You like what you have in Brandon Stone being in a relief role, so ideally you like to keep him there. So, yeah, if you're looking of potentially needing to move somebody out of the weekend rotation, assuming Philpott goes out there and pitches well, he's a name that could go into that mix.
Hey, you would assume maybe Riley Goodman. It wouldn't be this weekend.
Maybe.
It wouldn't be this weekend.
Yeah, it wouldn't be this weekend, but, yeah, if Goodman theoretically went down there and struggled against Florida and you wanted to shake it up for Arkansas next weekend, again, assuming Philpott's out there and gives you some good.
So, again, a game, that midweek game, they should win, Tyler. Shouldn't be a problem down there even. Really a fun night. Go down to Charleston. It's going to be a good night if you can get down there and take in the game over at Riley Park. And again, fun to go down to Charleston anytime, get a little bit of food and hang out. But it is a game that I kind of continue to look at and say it's a relief if they win, because we're not talking about a loss to a mid-major program.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and this is kind of how we positioned these middle six between Clemson and between Florida is like, well, you can't really do a whole lot to make you feel that much better because, again, you're supposed to win these games, but you can do a lot to make yourself feel worse. And, again, give them credit. They're 5-0 in these games in the past week and a half, can go to 6-0 tonight, where it's like, okay, yeah, you went out there, hindered your business, and did what you were supposed to do. Now, if they were 3-3 and, go down there and lose tonight and, 8-2 or something like that, then we'd feel a whole lot worse. So, yeah, you're handling your business, and hopefully that's something that builds momentum going into into a weekend series against Florida, a team that we talked about yesterday, struggling their own against a High Point team this past weekend that darn near swept them. They ran out of pitching at the very end and were walking in runs there in the very end, but it took 12 runs to beat them in walk-off fashion the other day. So I think we feel better about this series this upcoming weekend than maybe we did about a week or so ago, and we'll have to see what happens, but you got to handle your business tonight against Charleston first.
We'll see what happens. Again, down there in Charleston tonight, and then they go to Florida for the three-game series to take on the Gators. Again, to me, the interesting part tonight is, okay, you get about 25, 30 pitches from Alex Philpott, according to Paul Maneri. What does he look like? And then how long do you wait to maybe, if he looks good, insert him into that weekend lineup, say on a Sunday roll, to maybe, if he doesn't get better, replace Riley Goodman?
I'd be interested to see if you get him, 25 pitches tonight, if he has the opportunity to come in at some point this weekend in a relief role,
good idea,
see some quality hitting and all that kind of stuff, and kind of go from there. And look, hey, we hope that all three starters this upcoming week can do phenomenal where you don't have to entertain that conversation next week, but it is good to have that option if you feel like you need to pull that trigger on like a young guy like Riley Goodman if he does struggle this weekend, because, again, as we talked about, these first 3 weekends of conference play are pivotal in giving you an opportunity to stay afloat, because if they go sideways, it only gets tougher from here.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll get into some NFL free agency. Boy, a lot happened. The Panthers, did the Panthers make big moves yesterday?
Oh, boy, did they.
Oh, we'll let Kale get into that. We're going to force Tyler to have to explain what the Falcons did, and I'll give you an update. One Gamecock has got $10 million brand new, too. A new, nice, new, crisp $10 million bill, but was it worth it? Is it really worth it? I'll ask you the question when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. Folks, it is that time of the year. Grilling out on the weekend, watching some college basketball, maybe grilling out in the... You know what? Tonight, baseball games on ESPN Plus, or you can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. You can go right by Old Timey Meat Market after work, pick up some delicious chicken. I tell you what, the kebabs, the Italian chicken kebabs, second to none. Or you can grab a great steak. No better way to wrap up a Tuesday night than with some delicious food and a great grill out session from Old Timey Meat Market. Stop by one of their 3 fantastic locations: South Congaree, St. Andrews Road in Irma, or the Lexington store. Here's the thing about Old Timey Meat Market. They want it to be an old-timey meat buying experience. The butchers want to know your name. They want to know your family's name. They want to know what's going on in your life and be able to help you the best way possible. That's why I love visiting there, and that's why I encourage you to stop by Old Timey Meat Market today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. I keep saying we need like a wheel of punishment, but in this situation, we need like a wheel of where should we start? Tyler, who wants to go first? You or Kale? You, unfortunately, I feel like have to explain something you don't want to explain. Kale, on the other hand, Kale. Now, let me be clear. Kale Wilson filling in today as our producer here. You normally get to hear him in the halftime, in the postgame show with Terry or with Jay. He gets to join us today. Are you a Panthers fan?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I'm a very big Panthers fan.
Very big Panthers fan. I've never really deemed. Are you a big Falcons fan?
Oh yeah, no, I've
Falcons
listen,
fan.
I've been in it my whole life, man.
Okay.
What is it? What is the Bane line from The Dark Knight Rises? I was born in it. I was molded in it. Like I've lived this reality my entire life, man.
So we got one contestant on my right, a Panthers fan who appears ready to celebrate, and one who is ready to throw a quarterback out the window and discover something. Well, let's start.
Carefully throw that quarterback out the window because you could seriously hurt him if you do it too hard.
Very true.
In the head or neck area.
Let's start with the happiness. Let's start with the happy guy. Yesterday, pretty strong day for the Panthers. Julian Phillips, I thought, was a good pickup to begin with, and then they went a little bit deeper, Kale.
So for a little bit of context, kind of how Tyler said it, I've been a Panthers fan my entire life, and we'll be honest, it hasn't been exactly easy. The people in my family, my mom's a Cowboys fan. My dad was a Vikings fan. Older brother's a Steelers fan. So they've been able to have a lot of good moments. I haven't. So getting a couple guys in free agency yesterday were pretty big. I mean, we got to get Devin Lloyd, who was an amazing pickup. That was arguably one of the biggest pickups we've had in a long time. Devin Lloyd had as many interceptions last season, which was 5, as every Panthers linebacker has had combined since Luke Kuechly retired in 2020. And they also got a big guy in Jalen Phillips on the defensive line. And the Panthers had a total of 82 pressures last year on quarterbacks. Jalen Phillips alone had 60. Another big pickup. And then the pickup that I guess it's worth mentioning because it's a pickup, but it's the one I'm least excited about was Kenny Pickett at backup quarterback. I was talking to a couple of my friends about it, and they were telling me, I'd be really hyped if I had the inventor of the fake slide on my team. Well, I'd be more hyped if he could actually use it, but he can't. So why would that really excite me? The Panthers did get rid of guard Cade Mays or center, sorry, and that was one of the ones I wish I would have loved to keep him because he only had 2 penalties the whole year, gave up 0 sacks, but in this day and age, the NFL, you don't have that many guys on the roster, so you can't keep everybody. I'd say the one that I really, really am not happy about was losing Rico Dowdle, and he goes to the Steelers now. I am not a Steelers fan by any means. I cannot stand Pittsburgh. They're one of my least favorite teams on this planet. So the fact that he went from being a player that I absolutely loved, playing for a team that I absolutely love, to going to a team I cannot stand, that one hurt.
I'll get to that. That is a shocker, and not in a bad way. I'll get to the Rico Dowdle stuff. All right. So you got the happiness that is Kale.
Right.
I don't know if you got disappointment, but the quarterback situation in Atlanta now makes you go, ew.
It's like I don't know how this is going to play out type of thing. And for those that don't know, the Falcons signed a 1-year deal with Tua Tagovailoa, who got let go by the Miami Dolphins. The Falcons are moving on from Kirk Cousins after signing him to the big deal a couple seasons ago. Michael Penix Jr. injured his ACL at the end of last year, so he's still in the recovery mend. So essentially you're bringing in a veteran to at least start next year, I would imagine, for the first handful of games, and then assuming Michael Penix Jr. is healthy enough to come back, you would like to see him take the reins back over and hopefully carry things on from there. So it's kind of a bridge year, gap year type of thing with Tua. My thing is, like, Tua is one hit to the head away from being out for the entire year and maybe ending his career, considering his history with concussions. He's had an up and down career in the NFL up to this point. I don't think anybody's looking at this and expecting him to come in and suddenly lead the team them to, a deep playoff run or something like that. It's more about kind of bridging the gap until Penix Jr. gets to a position where he can take over. When that is, I don't know, because Penix Jr. is also very injury prone, going back to his time in college and now his time in the NFL. So you have two quarterbacks that get hurt a lot. I don't love that as a dynamic with my quarterback room.
It does make for an interesting dynamic with Val. Do they go another quarterback in the draft coming up?
I don't think so. At least nobody that's high enough that you would think they'd factor into, playing anytime soon. I think you have what you have there at this point. There's other areas that obviously need to address in the draft. You've had a good pass rusher that, was now charged with 5 felonies that you don't have anymore, which they did address yesterday with getting Cameron Thomas from the Browns to kind of supplement that a little bit. But, yeah, you wouldn't be going quarterback very high in the draft because, again, you seemingly have your future with Michael Penix Jr. if he can stay healthy. That's just the big if here. Now, again, with Tua Tagovailoa, when you look at his time with the Dolphins, they put a lot of weapons around him, and he's going to have a lot of weapons around him in Atlanta with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. They brought back Austin Hooper, who's a sure-handed tight end. Like, he's going to have people around him. It's just the if he can stay healthy thing. So if he goes down early and Michael Penix Jr. is not ready to come back, I don't know what you're doing at that point in time, which is what concerns me.
For the record, the Panthers, to help Kale out, have the 19th pick in the draft coming up this year in the first round. So maybe you can get another quality piece there. But I will say it appears by all accounts the Panthers are lining themselves that they quietly, I think, is that fair? Is it fair to say they quietly got to the playoffs this year? All of a sudden they're just in it at the very end, and I was like, hey, that seems cool.
And that surprised a lot of people. The making the playoffs this year, I think that was ahead of schedule.
Probably should have won that game, by the way.
Because they had beaten the Rams in the regular season, very well could have won that game coming down there to the very end. This is like now you got to take a significant step forward year. Bryce Young's figuring things out. Like, again, this is the year where you establish yourself. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, my expectation coming into last year, because obviously the year before last in 2024, the Panthers went 5-12, which was not good. But if you would watch them in 2023, that was a significant improvement. My really what I had just wanted last season, I had just said if we could somehow make the playoffs, that would be a successful year. And I didn't think that was actually going to happen. And then it did. And I said, you know what? It didn't happen the way that I wanted it to. And it didn't happen the way I expected, but we made the playoffs. We met expectations. Yeah, we lost a heartbreaker in the opening round, but you know what? We still made the playoffs. Big step forward. This year, I would really like to win one playoff game, and I feel like that would meet my expectations.
Okay. All right. No, very fair, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, Bryce Young he had his best season as a pro so far,
and beat the Steelers in the regular season.
Yeah, that'll probably help you out a little bit too. So things are moving in the right direction for the Panthers. And again, when you look at some of those moves, it's like, okay, this is where you take can you be over 500, win the NFC South again, and win a playoff game? I think is kind of that next realm of what you can accomplish, coming up this year.
So that brings me now to the other great news, and this is University of South Carolina related. You heard kind of Kale allude to it. Rico Dowdle leaves the Panthers. That stinks, but it signs a 2-year deal worth $12.25 million to sign with the Steelers. Now, let me say this. This is a little bit more in my wheelhouse than you two. In my lifetime, I'm not sure there's a Gamecock who's been more underappreciated. Now Dowdle was injured a lot at the University of South Carolina, but had some really great performances when healthy. I'm not sure I know of a Gamecock who has been less appreciated, who's gone on to have an NFL career in the manner he has. I think some of y'all might want to say Anthony Wright, but I feel like we all knew Anthony Wright was a true stud who suffered from a significant knee injury against Tennessee, I believe in '97, I believe is when that occurred, that set his career back. But Anthony Wright was kind of like a known stud player, and who knows what happens with that knee injury. I believe it was his wide receiver, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this because I get him confused, but I believe it was DeMarcus Robinson from back in the day in the late 90s that would go on to have a very solid NFL career that really didn't do a whole lot at the University of South Carolina. That was kind of a surprise. Keyshawn Nixon is having quite the career in the NFL, but I think Rico Dowdle takes the cake as the Gamecock who – we were all kind of like, and he was kind of just hanging around Dallas. He'd constantly be their third or fourth running back, and now he's kind of blossomed into one of the better ones in the league.
His career dynamic in the NFL is so interesting because you're right. For his first 3 seasons in Dallas, he had less than 100 carries. Like, he was just kind of that guy that rotated in here and there and, had 2 touchdowns through 3 seasons. So hadn't done a whole lot. Finally got the opportunity to be the guy back in 2024. Had a 1,000-yard year. Now, Dallas didn't have a good season, so that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Goes to the Panthers. Not a ton of fanfare for that. And then he was the talk of the league for about 3 or 4 weeks in a row, churning out those 100, 200-yard games, last year, and did enough to get himself paid in Pittsburgh. We'll obviously see how he factors in, with that offense this upcoming year, but it is such a weird dynamic to see somebody blossom in years 4 and 5 in their career, especially at a running back position where the shelf life of those guys is so short in the NFL.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. The other guy, J.J. Enagbare. $10 million, beautiful contract. Igbare's turned into be a very solid player with the Packers. $10 million to go play for the Jets, guys. Are we taking that deal?
Is that
money? Is it money's money, and I can't turn $10 million because that's life-changing, but I'm in New York. It's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year deal. Am I chasing money for 1 year here?
I think it's kind of a more of a personal interest type of thing. Like, hey, I can go ball out, and even if the team's bad, I know I have an opportunity to maybe do something else in 2027. So yeah, you're not locking yourself in for 3 or 4 years with the Jets. So I can understand that, and that is quite a different dynamic to go from Title Town in Green Bay to the Jets, who are trying to figure it out.
I'll let you touch on this. We'll get to a little bit more NFL free agency, just some of the other moves around the league when we come back, including the Chiefs picking up a new running back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 1:34 on a Tuesday. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, and Mr. Kel Wilson filling in there in the producer studio. I'll tell you before we move on to some other free agency, Kel, real quick, I mentioned that with the Panthers and their draft pick. What is the next step for the Panthers? You mentioned winning a playoff game. I like that. I like how you're keeping it like that. Winning a playoff game. Your thoughts on what they do with the playoff draft? With the NFL draft pick.
You know, I really think one of the things that needs to be a focal point, I really want us to either get a safety, or I would really like for us to get, since we got rid of Cade Mays, I'd like a offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. I know we got rid of one. I know we got rid of a D tackle in Ashawn Robinson, who, again, he wasn't a huge focal part of the team, but he definitely had plays where he did good things, like games where he did good things, and he had an impact. It wasn't really, was not a franchise tag type of guy, but he had an impact, and I think that he was a guy that had a lot of positives in his time at Carolina. So I would like to get someone to replace him, or I wouldn't mind getting someone at the safety position as well.
Okay, all right. So that leads us down that path. Some other free agency news and notes from yesterday, and I'll let you two kind of debate this as to what y'all think. Let's start with Travis Etienne. This was kind of big. I think this was big news yesterday. He's going to leave Jacksonville. Going to leave being side by side. Doesn't know what life is like without Trevor Lawrence, but he's going to go find out with New Orleans and going to the Saints.
Well, and I said yesterday, I feel like he's going to get kind of forgotten about because I don't expect the Saints to be a whole lot better this upcoming year, but he's a guy that's giving you solid production on the ground, and obviously this will be year number 2 under Kellen Moore. That's a organization that's still trying to build a little bit. I'm assuming, I guess, Tyler Shuck is their quarterback of the future. That guy seems to be the way we go in that, so you give him a solid piece in the backfield, and we'll see what they can do with it. With
getting Travis at the running back position, I mean, you also still got 2 running backs that are pretty new to the NFL. I think they're both going into their second year, but they're pretty good backs. You got Audric Estime and you got Devin Neal that came out of Kansas. And so you got to think there's one name I haven't mentioned that was a pretty big running back there for a long time, Alvin Kamara. And you got to think if they're getting Travis Etienne, I don't think they're going to be bringing Alvin Kamara back to New Orleans if that's the case.
Okay, interesting look at it. Like that. Let's go to another one. Isaiah Pacheco has decided to pair with Jamar Gibbs in Detroit to give them. Now, they got rid of David Montgomery. Montgomery was traded to the Houston Texans. The Montgomery-Gibbs was a pretty strong 1-2 punch. How do you two, Kay, I'll start with you, and then I'll go to Tyler. How do you feel about the new 1-2 punch for the Lions? This is me. Y'all tell me if you think I'm wrong. It just feels like that window is closing a little bit on the Lions, but now you got Pacheco and Gibbs to try and back up Jared Goff.
Pacheco is a guy that when I first saw him come into the league, when I was watching him in college at Rutgers, I thought he was just a guy that was really just mostly elusive, and Jahmyr Gibbs has been the elusive guy. But then as he's gotten in the NFL, he's been a guy that can also be a power back. So Jahmyr Gibbs and Pacheco, I feel like could be a really good 1-2 punch. And that doesn't come as a shock to me after the Chiefs just got Kenneth Walker out of Seattle. With him coming to Seattle, I felt like that he's definitely going to be awarded the starting position. So I really expected either Pacheco to get significantly less reps or that he was going to be traded somewhere. But I feel like him going to the Lions would be a pretty good fit and a good boost to what they lost in Montgomery.
Yeah, I think that's a solid replacement for Montgomery, going elsewhere. And again, it kind of still gives you that 1-2 punch. He can obviously catch the ball in the backfield too. Very violent runner, hard to bring down. So I think he'll work within the confines of that Lions offense. But, kind of going to your point there, Bill, that window, if it's not closed, is closing very quickly. So
feels that way.
You need to have solid production out of your running backs. And we'll obviously see how he factors in and if he can replace that same production that you're losing in Montgomery.
I'll tell you one team that has been making a bunch of moves. Like, I don't even know how much money this team has, but have you been seeing the moves that the Raiders have been making?
All right, hey, don't mess up my segment here.
Sorry.
Well, now it's all ruined. Now it's just ruined because I was going to say, all right, let's go to another big. I got two more big ones to get to here. that I was going to go to the Raiders. I was going to start going the other direction on you, actually. Max Crosby to the Ravens in the trade from the Raiders.
Yeah, and again, that because his contract was so big that frees up some money for them, I believe, and obviously it helps out the Ravens who struggled on defense.
Contract. I know we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, that helps out the Ravens for an area that they desperately needed some help at from a season ago. Obviously, you're kind of in rebuilding mode. Clint Kubiak, coming in as the head coach, and we're assuming they're going to get Fernando Mendoza. But yeah, that helps you out in terms of moving the money around. They get some first-round picks, for that, which is obviously a big get for them as well, as they're trying to acquire as many guys as they can, and again, making some moves in the free agency signings as well.
What do you got, Kale?
Yeah, I mean, it to me, I felt like the Raiders giving Max Crosby to the Ravens, and with all that they've signed, believe it or not, I think the Raiders actually are in a better spot now than they were with Max Crosby. It really seems like, because looking at all these signings, it's kind of like they're assembling that really good Georgia defense from a couple years back. I mean, you got Kwity Paye from Michigan, obviously, but then you got Eric Stokes again. You got Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. I feel like this defense is going to be very, very good. Defensively, they're going to be really good. Now, obviously, there's a lot of work to do on that offensive side of the ball. But on the defensive side, it looks like they've done some really good things, and I think that they will be significantly improved on the defensive side of the ball this season.
The big deal for them yesterday, Tyler Linderbaum signing a 3-year, $81 million deal that makes him the highest paid offensive lineman in the league, $60 million guaranteed. Real quick on this, coincidence or just pure dislike that Clint Kubiak shows back up at another organization, and instantly that organization releases poor Geno Smith?
I didn't think about that, but yeah, there's perhaps some correlation there. And look, Geno Smith did not have a good season last year, and you're obviously going to be drafting Fernando Mendoza more likely than not, so it wasn't really a reason for him to stay around anyway.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, Mendoza. Thoughts on that? Geno Smith maybe at one point upset Clint Kubiak there, Kale?
With Geno Smith had a bad year last year, but I do think that he gets a lot more hate than he deserves, honestly. I feel like, yes, he had a really bad year last year, but in other years, he's surprisingly done some pretty good things. I remember, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he had a good little run as a little backup, and I think it was at Seattle, but he had a good little run where he won a few games and he really just stepped up and made some really big-time plays. But lots of times when it comes to quarterbacks, if they have a bad performance or a bad stretch, that's all really people want to focus on. And, I mean, I'm guilty of doing the same thing, so I feel like that makes me able to say that.
And we'll wrap our NFL free agency segment up, thankfully, with only about a minute and a half left to go. Travis Kelce's back, everybody. Travis Kelce, where's the confetti? Where's the fun? By the way, I believe the wedding is, the 9th of June, or it's in June? It's,
I believe June 13th.
I'm glad I don't know that.
It's the day after my birthday.
Okay, at least you have a reason to remember that.
They didn't invite me.
No,
Weird.
You never know. Mail's slow. Travis Kelce, in all seriousness, back for the Chiefs. You're getting maybe a broken down Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes trying to recover himself. One of y'all just mentioned Kenneth Walker Jr. is back with them. We'll see what that franchise looks like. Thoughts on Travis Kelce at his age back?
This kind of seems like the swan song to me because we've seen his numbers go down these past couple years. There's a lot of anticipation he was going to retire this offseason. I don't know about you, Cale, but I think this is kind of one last hurrah with the group, and then he goes off and to do whatever he's going to do after football after this because he'll be, let's see, he's 36 now. He'll be 37 in the middle of the season. Yeah. So, and again, in tight end years, that's up there.
He's up there. He's dinosaur. What do you think, Cale?
I'd have to agree. I think that Travis Kelce, as Tyler said, his numbers have been going down every year. And I think now really the reason that people wanted to re-sign him and the reason why he did get re-signed is because he's been with Kansas City his entire career. And that really people just remember him as he was one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Yeah, like 5-6 years ago. But now it's just, I don't know. That's really all I have to say.
All right, when we come back, no more lemon pepper chicken wings at the Atlanta Hawks game. Oh, no. We'll explain why. It's the halftime show. Kale, how do you feel about a good chicken wing? Are you a chicken wing guy? You got a particular flavor, sauce, rub that you tend to lean toward?
So my favorite, and for some reason, not every place has this, and I don't know why, but I'm a big Terry Hot guy.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's you're a sauced wing guy.
Yeah. So and if they don't have it, so because the reason why I say if some people have it, because lots of times if people don't have that sauce, like one of the Buffalo Wild Wings I've gone to, they said they will go back and just mix the sauce and put it together. But at other ones I've said, they said that they can't do that. And so if they don't have it, I just ask them to bring out hot and teriyaki, and I just mix them myself.
Very well. Look at you. Very, very creative. Do you have a particular rub of a wing that you can go to, or are you strictly a saucy guy?
You know, I'm mainly a saucy guy, but if I had to go with a rub, really the only one I know is either lemon pepper or is it what is it? It's the garlic one.
Yeah.
Garlic parm. Those are good.
Yeah, that one's good too.
Okay. Well, the Atlanta Hawks were set to expose all of us to Lou Will's lemon pepper wings from Magic City. Now, some things to know about this. The Hawks did not include dancers from Magic City. I've not quite, I guess, explained what Magic City is, but for those of you that want to know, you can look it up on your own personal device. Do not look it up using a company device. Let's just say that. It is a club of the gentleman variety. And the Atlanta Hawks were set to have Magic City. Was it Magic City?
Magic City Monday, this upcoming Monday.
Yeah, last
plan.
night.
This upcoming
next Monday,
the 16th.
It was not going to have dancers.
No.
It was not going to refer to Magic City as being a gentleman's club. It was only calling it a iconic cultural institution.
It's one way to describe it.
That is a different way, but it works.
It's an Atlanta landmark.
How about this? It emphasized the history, the cultural impact, and the influence of an Atlanta landmark.
Oh, it is. And look, it's very prominent in Atlanta lore and hip-hop culture and all that kind of stuff. T.I. was and still is going to perform at this game, by the way, as was planned as a part of this night with his influence and everything there. And they were going to feature the legendary Lou Will lemon pepper wings that apparently are not anymore.
It should be noted, I'm just noting this, Hawks Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer Melissa Proctor was quoted as saying, "From the food to the music and the exclusive merchandise, we're excited to team up with Magic City to create an authentic, true to Atlanta-inspired game experience." They were very excited about this.
Sure.
I mean, they were genuinely, and fans were very excited about this.
This got a lot of buzz. People were legitimately excited to see this and how it was going to be presented. Unfortunately, the league stepped in.
The league has stepped in. It says, after days of feedback, now I have missed this, but maybe you catch this, but it says days of feedback, including San Antonio Spurs center Luke Cornett, the NBA has decided the Hawks should not go forward with their version of Magic City Monday, Tyler.
I don't know if they were worried about lawsuits or whatever it was, but they're definitely playing it safe with this. And again, they were not leaning into the adult side of what this establishment is, but yeah, the NBA seemingly didn't want the Hawks to take that chance, it feels like.
The Hawks have put out a statement. It said, while we were very disappointed in the NBA's decision to cancel our Magic City night promotion, we fully respect its decision. As a franchise, we remain committed to celebrating the best of Atlanta with authenticity, in ways that continue to unite and bring us all together. The theme night was set to feature a special live podcast recording with Magic City founder Michael, Mr. Magic Barney. Rapper T.I. was also set to perform, and the Hawks were set to sew a limited edition peach tree-themed hoodie with Magic City across the front in bold text. The Hawks were also going to collaborate with Magic City Kitchen to serve two versions of the latter's lemon pepper wings, a traditional wing, as well as the Lou Will lemon pepper barbecue, named after Georgia native and three-time Six-Man of the Year Lou Williams.
Unfortunate. Those.
Is this, I mean, but all seriousness, like it feels like, I will say in defense of the Hawks, late in the season, you're not in contention. You got to do something that draws people in.
To get people in the door.
And it feels like the Hawks thought this through.
Sure, and they were careful on which aspects of this they were embracing. Now, I guess those Magic City Monday hoodies will go the way of the Falcons Super Bowl 51 shirts being shipped somewhere overseas.
Never know. If you apparently, if you already did order a Peachtree hoodie, you will still receive it. So a lot more to get to. Hour 3 on the way. We get into a little bit of golf with the guys. I want to get their opinion on something I watched yesterday. There's a big PGA Tour press conference tomorrow, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Back to basketball and baseball as well. It's the halftime show.
Tyler right here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I tell you about it all the time, but I'm happy to remind you once again, you always need to be on the lookout for things around your home that might be a little bit off. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors and windows that might be sticking, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you notice any of these problems with your home, you could have serious foundation issues, and that's where our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today over at cantycanfixit.com. They'll send a professional out to your home to evaluate your foundation issues and get them fixed so you and your family can live worry-free going forward. Again, go online to schedule your appointment today at cantycanfixit.com. Let our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist help you out with your home's foundation needs.
It is 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, where, again, tomorrow I'll be out. So, Tyler will hold down the fort. You in tomorrow?
Scott Hamilton.
Scott
He'll
Hamilton.
be back 12 to 3.
Back tomorrow.
He's 3 to 6 today, filling in for Terry and Jay.
All right. So, Scott Hamilton tomorrow will hold down the fort for us. Then we'll be back on Thursday, where I believe I was close in our NASCAR Survivor Challenge pick 'em. I know I say close. I believe I finished second. I believe Doug got me by a couple spots there. Is that how it finished up?
Yeah, I gotta go back and add everything up. I know Chase Briscoe crashed out, so
Yeah.
I came in last once again this week. So I'm not off to the best start to the season so far.
No, you're not. And that hurts. Ryan Blaney finally getting the job done. Did you get a chance to watch most of the race? Were you fully invested?
Oh, yeah,
A lot was going on.
Yeah.
Sunday, a lot was going on. Race, women's basketball was happening. You had some good basketball, other basketball going on.
Yeah, no, I caught the whole thing. We're always locked in.
It did look like for a little while Tyler Reddick
He was in
might
contention.
pull it out.
That would have been the first time since 07 somebody won 4 in a row. But, yeah, he had a disappointing 8th-place finish, so just a terrible day.
Those disappointing 8th-place finishes. Real quick, off the top of your head. Oh, he did go. Doug went with Tyler Reddick. That's right. Doug went with Tyler Reddick in that. And, again, I felt pretty good with my pick with Ross Chastain. And, unfortunately, Briscoe wrecked out for you. And that's how we had that. So, NASCAR a few weeks in. Tyler Reddick in firm place of number 1 there in the Cup Series at number 1. Ryan Blaney, followed by Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, and Shane Van Gisbergen round out the top 5 so far in the NASCAR Series. I did not kind of pay attention. It was a busy weekend for me. I mentioned that. Did we have anything with Trick Williams on WWE?
Not this past weekend. The prior weekend, he was in the Elimination Chamber and lost. So now we're kind of looking ahead to WrestleMania in a month and seeing if he can position himself somewhere on that card.
I know it's a couple months away, but did you guys hear? You guys did hear that SmackDown is coming to Columbia in a couple months?
Oh yeah, I already got my tickets.
Really? I haven't gotten mine yet. I'm about to. Me and like 5 or 6 of my friends are all going. It's all people that I've been friends with probably since middle school or elementary school. So we're all going because we know Randy Orton's going to be there, and we all want to see the people we watched growing up.
Okay.
Be ready to whoop that trick.
All right. So we got that going. This weekend, by the way, for those of you interested, NASCAR heads back to Texas for Arlington. Street race this week? Is that
No,
what
that's IndyCar. IndyCar's in Arlington.
Oh, what am I looking at here? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I clicked the wrong schedule. That would explain why. I was like,
NASCAR's in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But no, IndyCar's running a street course around AT&T Stadium.
yeah, that's my fault. I clicked on the wrong schedule there. Now I got the right schedule up. It helps to always know which schedule you're exactly looking at. Yes. And then, but this week is Las Vegas, where I was trying to set it up correctly and failed miserably. Las Vegas this weekend, followed by
Darlington. Right.
It's early this year, but how are we feeling about that?
Well, fingers crossed we get some weather like we had this past weekend. We can't see that far into the future on forecast right now, but I'm hoping somewhere between 75 and 80 degrees and lots of sunshine for what'll hopefully be a fun weekend.
Let's look real quick here. By the way, Ross Chastain finished 6th this past week, so I did not catch the end of that.
No, he finished 28th. He started 6th, finished 28th.
Starting grid.
Yeah,
okay.
he wrecked out.
Why when I hit finish, did it tell me why did it send me to the starting grid and not the finishing grid when I hit specific? Okay.
I don't know.
I was doing 2 things at once, and but looking ahead, 75 and sunny, 3% chance of rain for Sunday, March the 22nd.
I sure hope so. Let's hope it holds.
All right, so we got all that coming up for you. A lot to get to, a lot to do. Main news of the day, Tyler, has been how do we process this real quick? Not an official announcement, at least not as of 2:04 from the university, but David Kleininger has put it out that he has confirmed with the university that Lamont Paris will be back for 26, 27. That may as well be some kind of statement. Do we get a statement before Wednesday night? Does Jeremiah Donati say something maybe tomorrow? Does he show up at shoot around there for the SEC tournament and say something? What do you think we get of this?
That actually is a good question. I know that